My name is Jenn. I'm a former senior patrol agent with the United States Border Patrol, and I talk about all the Border Patrol secrets and try and bring out the truth about Border Patrol corruption and agents committing crimes. And today, my guest is Marianna Trevino Wright, and she is the executive director of the Butterfly Center.
But there's another death that I think we need to talk about.
Yeah.
Happened last week. And this is also Border Patrol. I don't want to say policy, but I think we're inching up on that, as you and I have been watching and documenting the number of summary executions of citizens, U.S. citizens, in the field by Border Patrol.
Yep.
And right now I'm talking about Raymond Mattia, a Thong O'odham man. And the Thong O'odham are an indigenous tribe, a Native American tribe of people. And they're actually, Native American on both sides of the border. They own land on the borderlands in the United States and in Mexico. And Raymond called the Border Patrol to alert them to illegal traffic on the property, whether it was migrants or drug traffickers or who knows. But he called Border Patrol for assistance, alerted them to this. They showed up at his house and shot him 38 times on his front porch. What in the hell is that about?
Well, I'm going to tell you that Border Patrol has a long and troubled relationship with the Native tribes here on the border. The training of the Border Patrol is we just don't give a shit about the Native tribes. They'll claim their land and this and that, but we're the Border Patrol and we're guarding the border and we can do whatever we want. So you're right. The first stories that came out came from his family because the Border Patrol and CBP were being quiet. And once again, they said CBP OPR is investigating. This is Tucson sector for people who don't know. The Thong O'odham area is somewhat near the Ajo area in Arizona. It's very desolate. It's very rural. My understanding from the family was that they were calling about a group of migrants on the property. And then 4 days later, Border Patrol, or I should say CBP, came out with an official press release that stated that Thong O'odham PD, TOPD, had called them and requested backup and assistance about shots fired in the area. And these 3 Border Patrol agents responded. Apparently, they made a plan and they went to Mr. Mattia's house. According to the family, Mr. Mattia was only about 2 feet from his front door, standing out there, meeting with the agents. The Border Patrol claims that he then threw something. They haven't idea.
A rock? Maybe it's always a rock.
They haven't identified what it was. Said it didn't hit any agents or officers, so nobody was injured. But it was at his feet, and they're saying that he was upset. And the reason that they gave and they're claiming that it's only Border Patrol agents that shot right now, and they're saying there were 4 other Thong O'odham police, and they all have body cams apparently. And they're saying that it was the 3 Border Patrol agents who shot and killed him, which I find really interesting. So why are 3 people standing there from one agency shooting this man to death? And literally for 3 people to shoot 38 bullets, they're unloading their entire gun on that man.
And so, in the United States now, sometimes when these things happen, the body camera footage gets released. Are we ever going to see the body camera footage from CBP?
Well, we should. I mean, the last shooting they had in the same area, because Tucson is very rapey and very shooty. The Tucson Border Patrol sector is lots of agents raping. That's another story.
Stabbing.
They're shooting everybody because somebody looks like they might have a rock or think about they're going to pick up a rock or this or that. By the way, no Border Patrol agent has ever died by being hit by a rock, but whatever. The Border Patrol story completely is different. They don't say anything about migrants. They just say that they had reports of shooting. So I would like to see these supposed reports of shooting The other problem that I have is what we're saying, and we've kind of touched upon, are these where you find local peace officers or state peace officers, meaning your sheriffs, your PD, the people who pull you over for traffic violations and things like that, DPS, your state troopers, all those guys. They have that authority, but they do not have immigration authority. But these states like Texas and Arizona are giving their peace officers immigration authority. But in this instance, what the Border Patrol is saying is a peace officer requested Border Patrol agents to assist in what is normally a peace officer authority event. And I'm going to tell you right now, is Border Patrol agents do not have training in peace officer authority. Border Patrol agents have training in migrants and people crossing the border, and they believe that their civil rights are limited. Nobody cares what we do to migrants down here. That's why we get away with secret cover-up teams and all that other stuff. And so you have Border Patrol agents. The reason why they shot him was, number one, they said, this is Border Patrol statement, he threw something and it landed at the feet of the officers. And then in the very next instant, they said the reason why they pulled the trigger, why they started shooting, was he abruptly lifted his arm out and away from his body. So because he lifted his arm or maybe pointing at something or what, oh, over there, or I don't know what the situation is, but they say in their statement, he abruptly lifted his arm away from his body, and that's when the agents pulled their triggers and filled him full of lead. This man, I want you to know, I have been talking to reporters who from tribal nations and stuff that know this man, who have known this man for a decade. He has documented crimes and misconduct by Border Patrol agents on Thong O'odham land. He apparently, from my understanding, he apparently actually had a video and did a video and sent it in to and asked for an investigation, asked for an internal investigation, because he believed that Border Patrol was working with a cartel and running drugs in the Thong O'odham Nation, or at least looking the other way. He has something on the Border Patrol. So he's a known Border Patrol complainer. He's a known Border Patrol documentarian and so forth. And then he gets filled full of lead. Why? Because he extended his arm away from his body. Now, you happen to be somebody who lives on the border, who reports about the Border Patrol and tells the truth about the Border Patrol. How's this strike you?
It
terrifies you?
It does terrify me. And for the last 5 or 6 years, I've been telling people that I'm more afraid of Border Patrol than anybody else. And when they pull me over on the road, when they stalk me on the property, when they send agents to lay up undercover, and my dogs discover them hiding in the brush, when they
and
know.
You walk around armed on the property, as is your right in Texas, is my understanding.
Armed and with dogs that exist only to protect me. I believe that they took this opportunity to execute Mr. Mattia. And I believe, that they may do the same to me one day, or even to you. People who document and expose them, where they work with the cartel. And we know this happens.
Well, let's get to, I think what is a good story for this is this thing that happened to you, just, was it yesterday or the day before? So this is a good example how you could have ended up with 38 bullets in your body. And then we'd be going, what the fuck happened to Marianna? And they would take your gun out and put it in your hand and say, oh, well, she pulled a gun on us, right?
Fortunately, yesterday, my gun was in my purse, not on my person. But yeah, yesterday, and it was the second time this week that Texas DPS officers, who are their tactical teams, well, they dress in green and camo now. So they look like Border Patrol, and the average citizen interacting with them as they participate in border security and immigration enforcement, the average citizen would not know that these are state police.
What was their justification for being on your property and then covered head to toe so you couldn't see their faces like they were cartel themselves?
Yeah.
So what's their justification for being on your private property? Was there a migrant group crossing or something, or drugs?
They claimed that there were that a group had crossed the levee, which is almost a mile from the river, onto our property and was hiding out there. And when we initially confronted them, and they had Border Patrol there with the canine officer and everything, and they were like, the dog is on the group. The dog wasn't on the group. The dog's like walking around, walked up to me, hey, how you doing? The dog went and inspected 2 of my staff. I mean, it's.
When you say inspected 2 of your staff, are you saying that they allow the dog to sniff their crotch and all this stuff for drugs? Your staff working in.
My staff.
So we should explain to people that what this property you're talking about is the National Butterfly Center, and it's where people can visit and people walk around the property, and you have things out for butterflies to obviously plants and nectar and whatever it is these little guys like to eat. You have different animals and birds, and so it's a sanctuary for animals. It's a habitat for animals and pollinators. And so yeah, the dogs are going to smell people walking around, because that's what people are doing. They're walking around and they're taking pictures. They're not shooting butterflies or birds or squirrels or whatever. They're taking pictures because they love nature. So the Border Patrol comes on your property and says, oh, the dogs have hit on something. Well, I'm sure they have.
Well, they not only that, the ones earlier this week were on our property signing. And I'll let you explain signing in a minute, but as you said, we're open to the public 7 days a week. And during the month of May, our average daily attendance is between 100 and 200 people, because we're doing school field trips. Yeah. So we've got 100, 150 with teachers and parents and whatever. Predominantly, our area is like 96% Hispanic, predominantly Hispanic children and families and teachers walking all over the property. And Border Patrol and state police are coming to our place signing for evidence of illegals on the property.
That means they're looking, sign cutting means they're looking for footprints and evidence that undocumented people have crossed there, or people bringing drugs across.
And do you think we have footprints all over the property?
There's lots of footprints. I've been there. And the other thing too is they bring those helicopters and they go in really low, which creates a debris field where foliage is flying everywhere, and so people could get injured. Actually, I just find it interesting. So they're going through your property. Do they ever have their assault rifles out and stuff while children are running around looking at butterflies and stuff?
They do. They'll be carrying their assault rifles. They'll let the dog go through the crowds of children. They'll bring the drone down really low over everybody, or as you mentioned, the helicopter. They have come on the property with the bicycle agent, with the ATV agent. We have agents on horseback, because they're 24-hour-a-day operational outposts. The stables with the mounted patrol are next door to us. Mm-hmm. We also have agents on dirt bike. I mean, it's
and this isn't to say that migrants don't cross in that area. They do, but it is to say that I think you said that they found maybe one woman hiding out in there the other day. And so they bring in all this stuff for one woman, make the dog sniff your employees' crotches. And let me guess, were those employees perhaps presenting as Latino employees?
They were Hispanic males, which are specifically what Governor Abbott and Chief McCraw say are their targets in state immigration enforcement, and you can speak to what Border Patrol feels about Hispanic males.
Well, they're all criminals, except for the ones wearing Border Patrol uniforms, apparently. So, I mean, that's what they teach us and stuff. I just find it interesting because so in order for a peace officer to stop you, they have to have probable cause, meaning, you know, you have a taillight out, they see you without your seatbelt, they see you make a wrong turn, they see you throw trash out of your window, whatever the case is. But in immigration enforcement, Border Patrol agents and CBP only need what's called reasonable suspicion, because you can't technically look at somebody and go, I have probable cause that you're undocumented, because that's not something you can see. But the Supreme Court has allowed Border Patrol and CBP to racially profile people, because they, in their justification, this is in 3 separate cases, in their justification, they said the majority of people crossing the southern border, at least, are of Latino origin. So that is okay. But at the same time, the majority of people who live on our borders and are citizens present as Latinos, are native or indigenous, and maybe, you know, you're like me and you have a hard time telling the difference or whatever. So so what we have now is we have our peace officers, your DPS, your constables, your Mission PD, McAllen PD, all these people that normally need probable cause are now stopping people like your employees who are United States citizens, not on the basis that they've seen them do anything, but on the basis of racial profiling and using immigration to be able to stop people and then further search and harass these people. We often say at Border Patrol Watch, because the Border Patrol's motto is honor first, and we say honor first is a lie. So hashtag honor first is a lie. And we're going to start doing more of these. Hopefully I'll have you on a whole bunch, because you know a lot, and you and I do a lot of talking. We are very close friends.
But you've got
sisters.
You've got contacts and resources all along the border, and you know there are probably 100 people you could speak to, so people don't think it's, oh, that, you know, crazy butterfly bitch again.
Well, it's okay. It's okay to be called crazy. I've been called crazy, so, you know, and I've gone crazy, so I'm all right with that. But I mean, there's truth in crazy a lot of times, and just, you know, I'm looking forward to this. I don't really have a schedule set on this. I think I'm going to do it, you know, kind of just when I feel like it, and ad hoc, or when I feel like we need to talk about this. I don't have like, oh, we're going to do an hour-long show every time or this or that. But I just want to have like real comments, because the only thing that you see or hear on TV or in the news or even in podcasts and stuff is like, well, technically the Border Patrol is saying, you know, this and this and this, and they get out of everything by technicalities. And I just want to say, like, you know, you have children dying in your custody. For God's sakes, you shot a man 38 times standing out in front of his porch. He wasn't even armed. And if he was armed, it might have been his right to be armed, but he wasn't armed. And your justification is he extended his hand and his arm away from his body. Are you fucking kidding me? So that's what we're going to do here, is we're going to talk real. There's going to be curse words and this and that. And so we're going to put this out on YouTube, and if you're interested in doing one of these talks, I'd love to talk to you. You know, people know how to get a hold of me. I'm all over social media and stuff. And so we hope to do more.
Border Patrol is going to continue to give reasons for you to speak out, for other Borderlands residents to speak out, for the public to engage with you, to say, hey, this happened. This is Border Patrol's story. What does this mean? What is, you know, what do you know? What have you experienced? Because the public needs to start challenging them, if not because of the atrocities, then because of the tens of billions of dollars that this agency receives.
Yeah.
It is our money. It is taxpayer dollars that are being used for purposes that, you know, for the most part, are trumped up. And not just
No pun intended.
They're Biden'd up, they're Clinton'd up, they're Obama'd up. You know, it is our government, our electeds are owned by the special interests, and those special interests then create think tanks and lobbying organizations. That's a whole nother episode, talking about the Tanton Network and Center for Immigration Studies and FAIR and all of those things. But I hope that people who stumble upon this and watch it will be excited by the opportunity to engage with you and ask these questions and begin to really stand up and challenge DHS, Border Patrol, the Biden administration. You know, why hasn't the Biden administration disbanded the illegal union in Border Patrol? That's a whole nother episode. So I'm really excited that you've chosen to do this, and I look forward to learning more from you and sharing more of our firsthand experience, and you giving the public the chance to learn from all of us.
Yeah, from the people who are down here living this, who have experienced this. Yeah, that's my hope, is to be able to get people more of a realistic thing. It's not all the way right, all the way left. It's not open borders, closed borders. It's sensible national security. It's telling the truth about what's going on down here at the border. And you know, and frankly, the Border Patrol has been incredibly dishonest. Their management has used 9/11 to get lots of money in the Border Patrol, to increase their power, to increase their authorities. They are now using these against American citizens, and they're going to continue to do it. It's going to get really rough here in the next couple of years, especially with the election coming up. And I'm just tired. I'm tired of trying to send stuff to the press and tell them, you need to report on this, you need to report on that, and they're like, so I think it's important to get our voices out, and what we're experiencing down here, living and dealing with the United States Border Patrol being everywhere in our lives constantly. And we're white. So it's like, I mean, let's be honest, you know, I mean, and when the migrants end up going away, who do you think they're going to use all those surveillance towers and stingrays and all this stuff against? You already see it. You already see it, because they're using it against your employees who are American citizens. They're using it against you, and you're an American citizen.
The drones, the robo-dogs, the stingray technology. Most people don't even know what that is, much less the dirt box technology and everything else. Listening to our cell phone calls, mapping our digital device addresses, using the UAVs, the drones to pick up all of that information, as they did in Minneapolis over the George Floyd protests, and then using our tax dollars to hire people like this George Mason University professor to map all of those digital map devices to attach them to human beings. Stop. Frankie over here wants to get a squirrel. But to map all of those, attach those unique MAC addresses, like for your phone, and attach them to a person, and then go into social media and see who are all these people and who are they connected to, and present that information to the Department of Homeland Security as Antifa. And then those are the people we know from litigation that they then target in communities for surveillance, at border crossings for secondary inspection and detention, for deportation, for other things. And they are regular citizens, activists, journalists, lawyers. And our government is already doing that, like they did in Germany, like they do in third world countries that most people in the United States like to believe we're better than.
Yeah. And we have these open air camps starting. I don't think they have them in Texas yet, but we have them in San Diego, and they even had them out in the desert, in the mountains, high desert where I used to work, pulling over 1,000 people recently. That's the stuff that the Nazis did in the very beginning when they put the communists, the political prisoners, in open air camps. And they did the same thing that the Border Patrol is doing. The Border Patrol is going to tell you, oh, we're overwhelmed. We can't get them food. We can't get them water. That is bullshit. That is a lie. We are the United States of America. Yeah, I watched the Border Patrol get rid of 15,000 Haitians in 3 days. They can get water. They can get food to migrants. They don't need to hold them in open door camps. They're requesting asylum, and they're the ones that put them there. The Border Patrol is like, well, they weren't in custody. Bullshit. They were in custody. They didn't have the right to leave. They were totally in custody, and you were allowing them to starve, and they didn't have but one bathroom for hundreds of thousands of people. And what we are doing down here to migrants is disgusting. We are committing human rights violations. We are guilty. I am guilty of enforcing horrible human rights violations against migrants.
You remember when you were here and I drove you under the Ansalduas Bridge, the international bridge, to the Vaqueros Bar and Grill, which is open to the public with live music and cheap draft buckets of beer, and pointed to where the open air camps were under the Ansalduas Bridge.
That's right. You guys had them. Yeah, you guys had them before we did. You're right.
We had them. We had them. And you said that, when we were being invaded and they had no space for these migrants and they were keeping them all in these open air camps, the media reported that this was a remote rural area. They had to hold them there because they couldn't transport them anywhere. They were miles.
They were out in very rugged terrain and all this shit.
Yeah, and miles from civilization. And you saw.
There's a school. There's a church. It's right next door. I mean, within like yards or
2 miles from that open air camp to the Ursula Street Detention Center.
I know, but there's paved roads like right there. We drove down a paved road to get to this desolate area. But the thing is then you see mainstream media, they don't take their cameras down there. So the only view and the only perspective that Americans are getting are from the video cameras of the right-wing nut jobs.
Well, and the from the Border Patrol Union and their for-profit partners, their operatives, and their photos and video that they send out. And even more interesting to you is the fact that on the border, right there on the river, in this lawless war zone full of bad hombres, do you remember what was between the open air camps and Ursula, right there down the street from Vaqueros Bar and Grill? The only private Catholic high school in
yes. Where all the rich people send their kids. Yeah, so it's so dangerous. We're going to send our only rich child down to the camp or down to the church. Yeah.
It's so dangerous. We're going to drop our kids off on the Rio Grande every day and pay about $40,000 a year for our child to be educated there, right there by the outdoor detention camps and the indoor detention camps.
Yeah, it's so dangerous. And in fact, I remember we ran into that Border Patrol agent who had been there for 7 years. He was a white agent, and I can't remember his name. I don't think I got his name, but he was on the butterfly property, and we was talking to him, and he was talking about, how dangerous it is now compared to when I was an agent and all this other stuff. And then I said, do you like it here? He goes, I love it here. He's actually from San Diego. And I thought that was surprising that he loved being in RGV sector, because I think most people from California would be, well, it depends on where, but if you're from San Diego, I think it would be a hard move to go to rural Texas border town. And I said, do you like it here? I bet you're looking to get back out. Are you going to try and get back to San Diego or get to a northern station? He said, no, I love it here. It's great. It's so great. I'm going to move my elderly parents here. And I married a local girl, which usually means I married a Mexican or Mexican American girl in the Border Patrol. And so he's like, no, I'm going to move my family here. Well, if it's so dangerous, hey, Frankie, if it's so dangerous, why are you moving your family here? So you get in front of the cameras and you talk about all the criminals and the rapists and drug dealers and this and that, but you go move your elderly parents in.
But we are chronically the piñata, added about, beaten, destroyed, vilified by the media for profit, by legislators and by the media for profit.
Yeah. And we have created all of this. We've created all this, and now we have to reap what we have sown. So I'm excited to keep doing this with you, Marianna.
Me too.
This is going to be good.